presentation was recorded live in Kansas City, Missouri for CALLERLAB's 23rd Annual Convention. This is tape number 20, Showmanship Through Presentation.
Good morning. We're very pleased to see that so many of you have managed to break through the morning haze and work yourselves in here. Deborah, is there another place that we could keep that? Thank you. We pushed the button. That's good. That's good. We are discussing this morning the other side of showmanship. It is true that a great deal of attention is paid in our activity of square dancing to the choreographic implications and the choreographic techniques of showmanship. We tend, in my personal judgment, to overemphasize the value of the puzzles that we present to our customers and underemphasize the other aspects of showmanship in our business. I have come to the conclusion over the years that ours is a three-pronged or a three-value activity. We are fortunate that we have the puzzle-solving aspect that we know so well, because puzzle solving is fun, and our customers are very good at it. They have to be to survive. But we have, in addition, the fun of moving with music, of flowing in a team through actions that we work together, through patterns that are satisfying. We get to shake hands and pass by each other and smile and interact, and to move our feet in time with the music. And that has an appeal that has descended throughout the existence of man. But there is another aspect to the joy of square dancing, and that is the social aspect. The fun of gathering with people who share a common interest and joining in activities that are fun. It's nice to, as they said on Cheers, be someplace where people know your name. Square dancing has these three values, and I, over the years, have observed that we sometimes get carried away with the importance of just one of those. We pay a great deal of attention to solving puzzles. I'm afraid that our interest in that has taken us over in the last couple of decades, and in the process we have de-emphasized or reduced our promotion of the social and sensuous, if you will, sides of our activity. Our panel this morning is going to try to take some steps to rectify that problem and to address the social and sensuous side of the activity. And we have presentation specialists with us today who are well qualified in both of those arenas.
Hey, where are they going to get here?
I think probably our panel is well known. Some of you even know that I'm Jim Mayo. Please. Surely not. My greatest qualification is probably that I've survived longer than most. Decades and decades. She has branded me for all time. She was doing a presentation for NECA, the New England Council of Callers Associations, our NECA clinic a couple of years ago. And she looked out in the audience and said, I see some out there who've been in the activity for decades and decades and decades. And every eye in the room turned and looked at me. And every time I go anywhere in New England now, they repeat that for me. Thank you, Deborah. I really appreciate your contribution. She has a knack for making us laugh and for sharing with us information about one of the most important assets we have and one of the valuable tools in helping people to enjoy the sensuous part of our activity. You all, I'm sure, know Deborah Parnell. She's from down southern California somewhere. And please never to call her Debbie. You'll note that we are being taped, and please, please, please do not speak from the back of the room without the microphone. We have a traveling mic here and a traveler to make it go. We will look for your contributions to our session when the presentations have been finished, and we hope that we will get lots of ideas from you about how to deal with these things. Our other presenter this morning is from somewhere in New York State. Well, one of those. Somewhere south of New York State. Pennsylvania. You have a friend in Pennsylvania.
But I'm right here right now.
But he came here. Tom Miller will deal with another part of the presentation. Our tape will have the loudest applause of any. And without further wasting of your time, let me start today's presentations with Deborah Parnell.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, folks. You're going to be getting a handout. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to just kind of glance through it. My plan is to sort of go alphabetically by height through the outline and see if we can't cover the subject here. I don't think it's so much an issue of what singing calls you have in your case. I think it's, and it maybe not even so much how you're able to present them vocally, but how you feel about them and how you let your dancers know that you feel about that music. Music is something extremely personal to me. There is not one singing call in my case that doesn't touch me somewhere, somehow, inside my spirit. And if it doesn't do that, I can't sell it. I don't care about it. And I have, my father tells me it's a genetic thing. We have these very transparent personalities. Everything we're thinking and feeling is right out there for everybody to see. So if I don't feel good about that piece of music, I can't make you feel good about it either. So the reason that I entitled this Singing Calls with Pizzazz is not that I'm going to tell you which singing calls you need to have in your case. And this is not I'm going to stand up here and show you all the wonderful things that I do. Well, I might do that a little bit, but my point is that I want you folks to look in your case and think, how can I resell this music? Because I do the same singing calls over and over and over and over and over again. And I want to make it fun and interesting for the folks that I'm trying to entertain for that particular evening. So y'all have your outlines now? Got you good, man. All right. Obviously, in the importance, it does provide a contrast between the patter and the workshop. It's sort of the cookie at the end of what you've made them go through. If you've worked them hard, maybe your theme for that particular tip has been something that is choreographically difficult, or you keep pulling them up just a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. Well, at the end of the tip, it's kind of nice to be able to relax with an old friend, and to be able to cruise a little bit, as it were. There are some songs that we recognize immediately. Let's see if I can find one, and I'm just going to play the very, very first part of it and see if you recognize it. You know, I would be much more comfortable if you folks were seated in groups of 8. All right, you knew it immediately. Showmanship tool I saw done at a festival. Wade Driver, I can drop his name. Put this on? Okay. Everybody's on fire. Here comes singing call. All right. Just kidding. Now, how often do you think you're going to be able to get away with that? Maybe once or twice, and then that's about it. Okay. But that's a song that everybody loves. Do you really have to do it well? Do the dancers care? No, they love this. This is a piece of music that goes on its own. It has such a different feel. It's a lot of fun. Some people like it, some people don't. Usually your singing call choreography is simpler to dance than what you've been doing through your patter. That gives the dancers a chance to coast a little bit. The sequences are shorter. It provides some program balance. And when I'm saying balance, I'm talking also about doing the same feel of singing calls all night long. you should have in your case songs like Pink Cadillac, whether you like it or not, but what I'm saying is songs like this, the pin 'em to the ceiling sort of songs, and then also those that are middle of the roaders and those that are real soft, croony ballads. Some callers like to organize their records inside their case like that, where they have them filed like that. Mine are sometimes filed alphabetically. Usually they're all filed under the letter R for record. But but if you know your music really well, you should know what that's going to do to a floor. It should not be a guess. You should know it. Now, let me ask, I'm going to put a couple of pieces of music on. I want you to tell me just how it kind of makes you feel. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Yeah, this is obviously a test press. Make sure I don't put Buddy's vocal on, even though he did a beautiful job. I just want you to hear the music. Okay, you can see it how it sort of has a Mexican flavor to it. Can you feel that? All right, the very end of this is done in Spanish. The last verse is done in Spanish. Now, if you can't do it, if your Spanish pronunciation is not flowing and nice, my advice is then don't do it. Okay, stick to the English. But the feel of it is what is important. It's a beautiful song, and when I get to the figure. Oh, how lovely it was. They're in a grand square here, by the way. We were a pair. It's just got a nice flowy feel to it. And I love the xylophone. For a moment there, Alaman left and we. Okay, I'm going to try and let it play through to the first figure. Square through, go for to the corner, do a do and do do. Swing it through, boys you run, bend that line, go right a left through. Flutter wheel say, slide through that corner, swing a promenade. For a moment there. Okay, I've added to that feel of it, and I didn't do anything exciting with the figure. The figure was a very plain figure. It was the presentation. Okay, that's what I'm looking at as far as the singing calls. This is a beautiful song, and I really like it. Did it make you want to jump up and boogie? So it was kind of middle of the road, sort of but I added a little bit of punch to it by playing on that Mexican feel and putting a few Spanish words, and I'll say head square through cuatro, that means four, that sort of thing, and get into it that way. That is un momento allá, and that is on hi-hat. Yes. And that's Buddy Weaver's new release. Now, minor keys can sometimes depress a floor, and that is a direct quote from Bill Peters, whom I chose to disagree with at the time, because minor keys happen to be the ones where singers can really get out there and belt it. But it doesn't seem to have the same effect on the floor as what we're looking for. I have one record, actually, that I do in a minor key anymore, but I took this particular record. Some of you may or may not have heard it. You've heard the music. Again, I'm going to sell this to you. Now, I'm not going to just go into this cold. I will tell a floor, you're going to recognize this music right away. But this is a storytelling song, and I'm going to tell a different story. Now, do I have your attention? Do you understand? Okay, you're going, all right, well, what is she up to now, all right? This particular real song I heard in Salt Lake City at Nationals when I was back up in my hotel room changing clothes, came on the radio, and I thought it was hysterical. I roared. I thought I can change that and make that applicable for square dancing, because I have the same song on a square dance record. Oh. Circle of the lad. Oh, Farmer Brown went out to gather eggs for him to fry, when all at once a rotten egg hit him in the eye. Walk around your corner, girl, seesaw your own. Do an element left, weave the ring you roam. Yippee-yi-yi. Ghost chickens in the sky. Okay, and there's a couple of other verses that go along with it. Their beaks were still on fire and their eyes were bloody red. They didn't have no feathers because these chickens were dead. All right. And so on and so now, and at the very end is when it really kind of gets funny, if I can sort of pick this up. Yeah. I don't know if I've overshot it or not. Ghost chickens in the sky. Ghost chickens in the sky. All right. Now that's, unless you can cluck like, I mean, the clucking like a chicken is something I've always been able to do, and now I have a venue for it, you know. So it's sort of finding things that, you know, that click something in your head and then taking it and making it especially your own. You're so nice. You're putting all my stuff away. Thank you. For the tape, they said Tom was putting them in his record case, yes. Here's another. I love this song. It is a country rock sort of a tune, and I will show you how I like to present this. Cliff and Osa. Always pick a couple out on the floor. Cliff, you with me? He's with me. Do you remember what you said to Osa the very first, on your first date? Osa just said, "Oh, don't tell." Well, I have to, because they've actually come out with a song that is entitled exactly what Cliff said to you the very first night the two of you dated. It's called "Shut Up and Kiss Me." All right, now see, it's got a good feel to it. But I've set it up and I've involved some people from the floor, right? Their square's cracking up and they're wondering, I wonder if he really did say that to her. All right, music is good. I really like this song. But I have found if I can rope somebody in from a square and make it personal to them, it's now become their song. And everybody else in their square is looking and getting a kick out of it. So that's another technique. I'm sure that you have songs in your case that you could do the exact same thing with. See, you're all thinking about them, aren't you? You're out there giggling to yourselves. Here's another song, very cute little song. I like to just tell, the title of the song is what I will tell somebody to turn and tell their corner. Turn and say to your corner, you know, it's all because of you. And that happens to be the title of the song. All right, so they say that, and it's a nice little piece of music. This is on Silver Sounds. Hello, come on, band. There they are. Does that have a good feel? That makes you want to kick up your heels a little bit, doesn't it? Four ladies promenade to go prancing around, look at the baby dance. Get back, swing your man. Join all of your hands and you circle to the left and you move it and go. On the middle left with a corner, one to weave and ring. Your smile is sure make me happy. Stomp on her toes and you promenade. Oh, I'll never get to heaven. No, I'll never get to heaven. And it's all because of you. All right. They're all singing that to each other by the second time through. It's a nice piece of music. And now, I've never heard the original song before. I didn't care. I liked what was on this piece of plastic, and I thought, that talks to me. That's got a fun beat, good instrumentation, and I can sell that. I can present that to somebody. Silver Sounds is called All Because of You. Silver Sounds, I can read numbers now. I have my reading glasses. SSR 176, that's Silver Sounds. And Shut Up and Kiss Me was on Lumac and LM 202. Okay. Now here's a good Dixieland number, and I love Dixieland music. I don't usually set this one up at all. This is one I don't Casey Case them every single solitary one of my records, but some of you don't have to. Everybody knows that, right? And away they go. Won't you come home, Bill Bailey? Won't you come home? Okay, you can see how that can go along. This is one of the songs that I always, when people are swinging their corner, opposite lady, right-hand lady, whatever, I give that person a particular name. I don't tell them swing your corner. I will tell them swing cupcake, swing boobala, swing poopsie, swing lamb chop. So, you know, whatever little nicknames you folks can come up with. And they just roar. Because here comes this person at them, they don't know all that well, and all of a sudden it's their lamb chop. And it gets a real good reaction from the floor. At the end of this, one of the tricks that I like to do, because I love to sing Dixieland, I love the music, see if I can come into it like I'm supposed to. This is the closer. Circle of the Lab. Won't you come home, Bill Bailey? Won't you come home? I cried the whole night long. I'll do the cooking, honey. I'll pay the rent. They're still circling. I know I've done you wrong. Do you remember that rainy evening? Oh, Alaman left. Come back, swing your own promenade. Okay, you get the idea. It's more like I'm on stage and I'm performing and I forget, and they're circling. And some of them will actually begin to dance Alaman laughs. I mean, you know, it's like they'll just make it up on their own. You know, they're like, oh, well, she's forgotten about us again. So we'll just go on that one. That's for Barbie. 6075. That's a good old release. Won't you come home, Bill Bailey? Now, this particular record is one where I feel that the mood is much more sedate. It's not a kick up your heels Bill Bailey type thing. I like to do this one, the first one after break. We have this lovely policy in California where they break in the middle of a dance and feed them. And it's hard to get them back up and, you know, wanting to kick up their heels. This is a nice segue. Isn't that a pretty song? That acoustical guitar is just fabulous. Now, the first time I ever heard this song was in the 60s when the Mamas and Papas did it. Imagine my surprise to find out the Mills Brothers had done it long before that. Decades and decades and decades before that. And this is not a belter. This is a soft, croony, sort of a breathy. If you were in Voice yesterday, you remember what he was talking about on those 3 registers in that delivery. Circle out, stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Alaman laughs, get off me, Tom. I'm rattling the speakers in here. Say nighty night and kiss me. Swing the girl in promenade, say you'll miss me. While I'm alone and blue as can be. Dream a little dream of me. Now here it goes into a higher register for me vocally. I am not at that point in time going to sing that high. Can I sing that high? Of course I can. However, do you want to hear it? Not on a square dance floor, no. Please, lady, don't do that. All right, so I will show you how I segue into that and keep the soft mood of the song. Dream a little dream of me. Head square through. Do sa do and say ah. Swing through. Ooh. Boys run. Ferris. And they all go wee. You know. So, all right. It doesn't have to be a belter or a pusher, but I've tried to capitalize on that soft feel and sell it like that. And by the time I get to the 4th figure, I don't have to tell them to say ah. You know, they're all pre-programmed and they do that. This is on Eureka Records, 1902. Now, this particular piece of music here, and I hope you folks have some of these. If you're singers, wonderful. But I hope that you've got some in your case where you are, like, very secondary when it comes to the delivery of the song because the music is so good. And this happens to be one. This is a shakedown release. This is called If It Ain't Got That Swing. And I like this one because of the different instrumentation. I see heads bobbing up and down. You must have it in your case. It's a fabulous piece of music. And I will tell them, I like to try to enhance the instrumentation a little bit by the presentation of the song. I think even old Duke Ellington is like this. 4 ladies promenade, walking around that ring. Well, you know the figure. Yada, 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 yada. All you want to do is deliver the figure and shut up. You want to miss any of that music by me jabbering over it? Heck no. You want to be able to appreciate that particular music. And you can also pull that up. I just hit the treble knob. Could you hear the difference? You can pull that up. That is such a good piece of music. Here's a selling point. Head square through little clarinet here. Have I just gotten you to pay a little bit more attention to the music with that, just that short little thing? There's a clarinet in the first figure. There's a trumpet in the second. There's a tuba in the third. And there's a banjo in the fourth. And when I'm having them do whatever the figure is, especially the intro, and I like to have a square through because that's taking them a little bit longer to do, I want them to pay attention to that particular instrumentation. And this is Shakedown 202. So you don't have to have in your case all singers. I mean, there's no reason why you have to do that. You are just wonderful. I'm going to keep you around. Now here's one of those familiar ones. This really seems to perk up a floor. This is Silver Sounds. 137. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You can make this a sing-along. Four ladies promenade, get walking around that ring, I say. Get back and swing the man and go one time. Join up your hands in a circle to the left and go. Do an elemental lift with a corner, weave that ring now. Closer, my dear, come closer. Swing your lady round and then promenade to get around again. Sing it. Put another nickel in the Nickelodeon. All I want is loving you and... Alright. First time I ever saw that technique used, Marsha Flippo did that at a dance. He would ask us to sing along. Well, you know, some people just lip sync. They just go through and there's nothing coming out of their mouth. Caller can't tell because they got the music all around them and they're singing too. And he just turned the music off. Those that weren't singing all of a sudden realized they were going to be held accountable for that fact, okay? So that's a good one for it's an upbeat tune. Did I give him the number on that? I feel like we're playing bingo. 137, okay. If you're going to do a sing-along, that's a wonderful technique for letting them know you're expecting them to sing. You're going to hold them accountable for that. This is a name that tune type of a song. I love to put this on, so I'll give you 5 notes. Name that tune in 5 notes. You got it. Absolutely. Somebody always yells it out, usually correctly. This is a wonderful sing-along. Everybody remembers this song. They'll already start singing at this point. Oh man, no. They're all singing out there already. I haven't had to do a thing. All I've asked them to do is connect with the music by telling them I want somebody to identify it. And those that maybe weren't able to now can because a dancer has volunteered that information. All right, again, involving the floor in what it is you're doing. I like this. It's just a happy little song. Sing along, but it's stopped short, never to go again when the old man dies. Exactly, and it has a wonderful tag on it that allows you to do the exact same thing. Turn that music off, let them finish it up. And that works out real well. Cardinal number 10. Now, how many of you have ever heard a record done by somebody else and you wish that you could do it and you can't? Okay. I don't know what you folks have decided to do about that. Some of them I've just been bound determined I'm going to learn to do it. Other times I've tried to talk that caller out of doing that record, telling me, you know, that's really not a very good record. You shouldn't be. Well, this one came on. And one of my student callers brought this in, and I thought, oh man, I don't like that at all. But the dancers loved it. So it's very important for you to stay connected. Watch what's happening out on the floor. Are the people smiling? Are they tapping their feet? Are they bobbing up and down? Do they like this piece of music? So I had to go out and learn this song. Now this is a Cajun piece, and I tell them, put your roller skates on. This is a hopping piece of music, and I've got to take the biggest breath of my life to get through this thing. Here we go. You got it, right? I even like to speed it up a little bit more. 4 ladies chain that hall, turn a little girl and hear my call. Roll away with a half sachet, circle to the left, around that way. 4 ladies roll away, circle to the left, around that way. Alabama left with your left hand and a partner right and a right left grand. Fisherman's luck and a hook or two, a little bitty fishing line sinkers too. Swing a honey, go round and around. You promenade to get around that town. If you catch a fish when the sun comes up, it'll be said you have a fisherman's luck. And it takes a lot of go and a whole lot of dough for a man to make a living on the old bayou. Head square through 4 hands and go. I tried to talk that kid out of doing that record, but he wouldn't listen to me, so it made me have to go out and learn it. This is Mountain Recordings, Fisherman's Luck. This is number 70. You don't have to do much with that thing. The music and the feel of that carries the dancers, and they just love it. They just love it. Your presentation of that, thank goodness that we do have some that we don't have to be super responsible for doing all the presenting of it. This is a period piece of music. I will usually ask the dancers, okay, blast to the past. Blast to the past. Who can tell me what a pack of Wings cigarettes used to sell for? 10 cents. You have the correct answer there, sir. For having the right answer. Any one of my flyers up here, your choice, absolutely free. Right. Presentation. Okay, presentation. And all you have to do is just drop the needle on this and they're gone. I like to use a chorus box on this one if I can too. Is everybody back in about 1943? Right now. Oh, that's such good music. And there's a wonderful figure that was put on another piece of music that I like to use when I do this. I believe it was put out there by Jerry Story, where you have the head square through 4, have him do a right and left through, veer left, Ferris wheel, pass through, both hands single circle, rear back, star through, roll to face, both hands single circle, rear back, star through, roll to face. It puts you in a boogie-woogie sort of a feel of the choreography, and then you swing and go. By the time you get to the 4th figure, tell them to make it up on their own. Boogie-woogie, you make it up. And they will. There are a lot of people out there that really enjoyed that kind of boogie-woogie dancing. So, a lot of what it is that you're doing with the singing calls doesn't mean that you have to be able to sing like a bird. So much of it is, that's an old riverboat. I don't even know if that's still around. It doesn't have so much to do with your ability to sing. It has your ability to present it and sell it to your dancers with how you particularly feel about that piece of music. That's what's really important. I'm not going to ask for questions now. I'll just pass it on to Tom, and we'll do a question and answer session after Tom gets through with his portion. Thank you very much for allowing me to share this with you. I hope you guys got a little bit of information out of there, something you can use.
I'm glad that you get to follow that act, Tom, not me. Singing calls obviously are one of the places where we can make a great impression on the sensual side of appreciating square dancing. They're fun. They don't challenge people. They don't have to challenge people. I note that a number of callers carry their challenge over into the singing call part of the tip as well. Many use 4 or 5 different figures, and sometimes I note the floor is broken down even in the singing call part of the tip. I often wonder why, when the opportunity to do the kinds of things that Deborah's been talking about is available to us. But there are other aspects to our showmanship, some of them that happen even off stage. And I'm afraid that many of us don't pay as much attention as we might. We don't appreciate the value of those. Tom has put together a presentation that deals with that part of it, and well, the opportunity to dramatically present, it may not be as available in his subject, it is nevertheless of great importance. Tom Miller from Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Wow. Wish I would have went first. We're passing out a handout there, and what we're going to do is cover three different categories on showmanship, other than singing calls, choreography, and so forth. Decades and decades and decades, huh? I've been calling for 22 years, and Jim was my teacher back then, and my dad was calling for 50 years before that, and he was his teacher back then. That's 63 years right there. 62, yeah. Let's give Deborah a nice hand. That was a very nice presentation. Very nice. Everybody get one? All right. If you stop and think for a moment, and if I would survey this room and ask how many people thinks that showmanship is to basically to walk into a square dance hall, set up your equipment, and start calling a square dance, I'd not be surprised if I would get everybody to raise their hand and say basically that's what showmanship of a square dance caller is, or any kind of an entertainer as far as that goes. I talk to a lot of callers throughout the year and kind of do just my own little survey, and they think that walking into the hall, setting up the equipment, calling a square dance, taking the paycheck, tearing down their equipment, and leaving is basically all there is to showmanship. Well, if you stop and think, what do we do before we get to the dance? What do we do during the dance? And what do we do after the dance? Now, a lot of people would think, well, what does it care what I do before a dance? What does it matter what I do after the dance? You know, and I'm already there and I know these people, and so be it. So we're going to start with number one, and if you look at number one, it has on stage. And the reason I started with number one, you're going to say that these are out of order, but I chose to put on stage first just because most people think that the showmanship is the stage part of the showmanship itself. And how to act, how to dress, making dancers laugh, your posture, and it does matter, in your personality, is all part of mannerism, and that all ties up into one. But I broke them down, and I'm gonna talk about how to act. And how to act on the stage means when you get up to the turntable, are you prepared with your evening dance? Do you know what you're gonna do? Or are you going to wait exactly 30 seconds before the dance and decide what singing calls you're going to choose? Well, if you wait 30 seconds before the 8 o'clock start time, we are now waiting 5 minutes for the caller to start, and they're there. You're putting a show on for these people, trust me, because now they see that you're not prepared to call them a dance. So it's always nice to get into the dance. I always try at least 45 minutes if I can, sometimes longer if I know the hall's going to be open. If I know what club I am calling for, I'll try to get there early, get my equipment set up, then I can set how I want it to set, I can get my records laid out, and I'm ready to go, and I can put that down on the back burner. So that gives me more time to be on the stage. How to act on the stage towards people. If you are on a stage and you are getting your material together and some people, take time to drop everything and go over and say hi. You know, if you see somebody, you just wave at them. Little things like that is all part of a showmanship, even before the dance even gets started while you're on stage. How to dress. I think that's a big factor in calling. I think wearing bib overalls with a short sleeve shirt, what's wrong with that? I'm from Pennsylvania, is a little far-fetched. I think when you're in front of people, you need to present yourself that when they look at you, without even saying any kind of words to these folks, they're thinking back in their minds that this gentleman really stands out. We know he's the caller. We don't know who he is, but we have a funny feeling that this guy's the caller. He has a suit, he has his bolo, whatever it might be. So dressed appropriate. You know, and I'll talk about my girth. And leave me alone. You know, some of us are fortunate to be blessed, and we might be hungry.
On the tape, on the mic.
That's right. Speak out of turn. You're out of here. One more time. Okay. But so I got to be careful. You know, I can't walk into a square dance hall and I got to make sure that, you know, because I shouldn't say I'm pleasantly plump, okay. But my wife isn't complaining. Now listen. So anyway, when you walk in, one thing I do not like to see is when a caller has his shirt tail sticking out of the side, you know, or his pants is where it's not supposed to be. You know, every little thing like this, people remembers, and they're not going to forget. So, you know, if you're a gentleman that's big And it's called timing. You want to make sure that you get the clothing that suits your needs and so forth. All right, and I envy the guys that can wear the beautiful Western shirts and the leisure suits. Take part of that. Make that a tool. Trust me, it's part of showmanship. I've been in this business for 21 years, and I know that is a big factor. And I think that should really, before anything else, go on top of your priority as a showmanship. So you might want to consider that. Making dancers laugh, I don't think I have to cover that, because you just seen what happened. It doesn't take little things. It just so be when he walked across, we were talking about my girth. All right? And so to make dancers laugh it's a talent that you have to work on. It's something that you just can't wake up on a Sunday morning and go to a dance and start making people laugh. It's something that takes time. You have to know what the limits are. You have to know what you can say, when you can say it. So, and to make dancers laugh, I'll always say, if I'm at the microphone and I see somebody I haven't seen, oh, it's nice to see you. It's glad you brought your daughter with you. And little things like, you don't gain points with the guys, but the ladies love you. So making dancers laugh and so forth is a very big. You need to turn the tape. Okay, good. All right. No, he's just waiting to see where I buy my clothes. Anyway. So I'm just going to surpass the making dancers laugh, because you can see that the right time, there's a right place. Not necessarily has to be there all the time, but there's that point that it needs to be done. Your posture. If I would stand like this and talk to you for the next 10 minutes, I'm sure that it would be kind of discouraging in your part, like, say, this guy looks like a slouch and so forth. And as looking across the room, your posture is very important. Whether you're sitting at a seminar, whether you're standing on the stage, whether you're talking to people along the side, whatever it is, your posture is very important. All right. But then again, if I do stand like this, I can't very often. It's hard to get back up, and so so you got to be. Do you have that problem? Okay. So shouldn't you be somewhere? We are now on side 2. Guaranteed he won't be back. So also the last thing is your personality. Here again, your personality, if it's just overflowing like a volcano, then your dancers are going to be overflowing. And if you're laid back and you don't show that you have any kind of personality, then 9 times out of 10 that's the way your dance is going to go. If you stand up there and don't bother the dancers when you're on the stage, if you don't do any kind of appearance to these people to let them remember you, if you don't do any kind of eye contact, and you're just basically a person holding a microphone trying to get out of there before the 2.5-hour dance is over, then you're going to get a dance. You're going to get the dancers to respond to you the same way that you're responding to them. So a lot of people think that showmanship is when you're on stage calling. And I want to keep saying that because it's a very important topic that we need to bring this up, because so many of us get so lazy that we forget that we're not doing this. I'm guilty of it. I'll be the first to admit that. Because you walk into a hall that you know the people, you're with them week after week after week. Okay, here's Joe and Mary, Oh, okay, that's no problem. But it doesn't matter if it's your home club with 2 squares, or if it's a festival with 100 squares. You gotta go in there. It doesn't matter if you have 102 temperature. It doesn't matter if you got bronchitis. You got to show these people that you're there. You got to be bubbly, and I guarantee if you do that, you're going to get a response back from the dancers that's just totally remarkable. Let's go to number 2. I chose that, of course, next because of the off the stage at the dance. What do you do before the dance starts? Well, like I said earlier, I like to get to the dance. If the dance is at, say, 7:30, I like to be there 6:45 if possible. Sometimes traffic doesn't let you do that. Sometimes I know in my case, I got a little girl that when my wife comes home from work and we got to take her to the babysitter and so forth, it kind of puts you back a tad. So I always try to get to the dance, at least 45 minutes. And what that does for me is I can get in. I know I'm at the dance. I know that I can relax. I got 45 minutes to showtime. And I can kind of, if there's nobody there, I can sit in a car. I can go for a walk in the parking lot. I can sit and listen to music. I can read a magazine. Just anything to clear your mind to get ready for what you're hired to do. So, and if the hall's open, then that's a benefit to you. You get in, you set your equipment up, you put your boxes and everything away. And I should say that's very important. One thing that I see so many times is that, and some halls don't let you do that. In other words, there's no stage, and so some halls doesn't let you have to put your boxes under your table, But if you have a hall that you're working off the stage and there's a curtain, hide the boxes. Hide anything that you can hide. Your flyer box, your cord box. That's all important. If they see that it's a nice clear, and you're comfortable, you don't have to worry about tripping or stepping towards the turntable and hitting the box and go making a sound with it or anything like. So clean up around you, and if you get there early enough, that's one of your benefits. Another thing I like to get to the dance before the dance starts. Get in, get my equipment set up, check the hall, make sure my equipment's in working order, and then I'm ready for the people to come in. I'm there. I am now ready for those. I almost become like a greeter for the club. Even though I'm hired by that club, I've now become a greeter. I was one of the first people there. I'm now at the door. Hey, how you doing? Hi, I'm Tom Miller, whatever it might be. And these people are like, that was nice. It gives you a nice, refreshing feeling. The dancers have that refreshing feeling that they kind of know you on a one-to-one relationship. And whether you talk about the weather, whether you talk about the activity, as long as you can come up with some sort of a relationship within those couple of minutes, you're going to be walking away the winner. So if you can get to that dance, if you have the opportunity to be there, take that time and spend it with the dancers. Okay, get to know the officers. If it's a club you've never been there before, get to know who the president, get to know who the treasury is. That's the main part. But no, get to know who these people are. Get to know the people that you might have not met the person that did the booking. Get to know these people. Okay, make them part of your family, because these people are our family. They're just friends we haven't met before, and it's very important to remember that. Number 2, the show goes on between tips, and what I mean by that is this: I'm not picking on anybody. I would much rather see square dance callers when they finish their singing call, if they just, instead of taking the time to put it in the sleeves and just throw it to the side. You have time to do that later. Get off the stage. If you have a round dance cure, you might want to mingle with her for a split second while she's coming up or whatever it might be. And walk off to the stage. Now, you're not going to get a chance to talk to the people that's going to do the round dancing, but you have that opportunity now to talk to the people that is not going to be doing the rounds. And this is your time that you can go around again. And it's a possibility that now you're talking to these people twice. Going around now, you have the chance to say, how's the dance going? everything all right? Am I too fast, too slow? Is everything okay, the sound? This is your chance to now to get, because you've already met these people. I mean, you've built a relationship, so now you go around, handshakes. I'm here again, I'm not picking on anybody, but I feel that when the singing call is over, I see so many callers, the first thing they have to do is head outside to have, you know, their social gathering outside. Smoking, whatever it might be. That's fine, but if you take, say for instance, 20 squares of dancers, and out of that 20 squares there might be only 4 people that smoke, that whole night long you've talked to 4 people. That whole night long you talked to 4 people. I don't think that's fair. I think that the people that's inside is where the priority is. You have time before the dance, after the dance, whatever it might be. I'm not saying every tip. I'm saying maybe one time it'd be okay. Maybe twice, but I'm not saying every tip. So if you're a smoker, please don't write the Board of Governors letters. Okay, that's because I'm not downgrading that. I have no problem with it. I was a smoker at one time myself, so I have no problem with it. So little things like that to build a relationship, and that show goes on. All right. The next thing is at the end of the dance. If you read that, there is a misprint. I just want to bring you to clarification. The end of the dance doesn't stop the show. All right. We'll blame that on George White. Oh, blame it on George White. No, okay, blame it on Jim. Okay.
This organization can get along better without me than it can without George.
Yeah, it was me. Then Jim proofread it, and he didn't. It was your fault. Okay. At the end of the dance, how many? This might hit home pretty hard. When the dance is over at 10:30, you put the microphone down, you pull out your plugs, you start to roll the cords, the speaker's down, you packed up, you put on your coat, you say goodnight, and out the door you go. How many times have you seen that happen? Quite a few times. Quite a few times. I feel that if you could take that extra 5 or 10 minutes, getting home or getting to the seat to the favorite restaurant, it's going to be there. I think if you take that extra time and you walk away from your equipment, when that last singing call's over, put everything down, walk away from it. It can wait. If the people is going to thank you, don't be putting your stuff away, your records, while they're all out there saying thank you. Face these people. Thank them back. I know when everybody gets in a half moon shape and they do a thank you, it's pretty hard to say thank you back. So what I do is I kind of like to spread out my arms and just real quick just go around the room. And you're basically what you're doing is making a whole moon yourself. And these dancers remember that. And then the handshakes and the hugs and little things like that comes in. That timing, real timing. That's a wrap. Okay, I want to get to number 3 real quick, and then we'll take the last 15 minutes for question and answers. Okay, how many people, in all honesty, think that taking the booking on the telephone is all part of showmanship? How many has never thought of that before? Be honest with me. How many has never looked at that as showmanship? Has never looked at... When we were putting this together, I had said to Jim about on the phone and so forth, and he said, a lot of callers wouldn't think that it's part of showmanship. Your attitude. If you're having a bad day on the phone and someone calls up, 9 times out of 10, whoever calls you for a dance is going to get hit hard. And so if you know that it's going to be for an engagement and so forth, kind of bring your tail feathers in, take a nice deep breath. If you have to put them on hold for that 15 seconds, do so. Kind of bring yourself back to earth, and treat this with a fashion that these people, when they call you up and for booking, that they're they're going to remember you even before you even get to the dance. So it's very important. At the restaurant after the dance, that's all part of showmanship. Talk to the non-dancers. Talk to, as soon as you walk into a restaurant, the first thing these people do is start laughing at you because of the clothing and so forth. That has been around for years. But I watch people, that's non-dancers, what their reaction is. And I walk up to these people and I say, we've just been at a square dance. This is what these people do for a hobby. And my question to these people, I never ask this, but I would love to say, would you laugh if somebody would walk in here with a bowling bag? Their answer would probably be no. So I go to these non-dancers and I tell them about the activity. And now these square dancers are seeing, this guy's really good. Here's people that don't even dance, and he's carrying a conversation. And how to act at a restaurant is basically not by, sipping soda through a straw through your nose. That's not what my intentions was, because someone asked me if that's what this was about. Oh, you mean you don't do that? But it's everything ties into showmanship. After parties, if you're gung ho on after parties, go for it. I love to do after parties. That is a different side of showmanship, and I think if you don't do after parties at weekends, I think that you need to consider doing some. This is, we could stand up here for another hour and talk about this particular topic itself. So for the next 15 minutes, I'm going to turn the mic back over to Jim Mayo, and it's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Deborah got shut off before I let her do one more that she really wants to do. She'd like to sneak one more in there, and I've seen her do it, so I agree absolutely. But one comment from myself, that walking up to people in between tips or after the dance is not easy to do. Some of us are not as comfortable with social interaction as others, and I'm one of those. I've had a great deal of difficulty making myself do what I know I should do, and that is to get out and talk with people, press the flesh and let them know how pleased I am. But how do you start?
For your information, I have a caller school this July that's covering that, so you might be interested in coming.
Actually, I got to one a long time ago. It was Ed Gilmore's. Uh-oh. Decades. No. But I'm particularly hung up on the notion that dancers should win choreographically, that we should let them dance. And my opening line when I walk around between tips or after the dance or at the restaurant is always, gee, I hope I'm calling what you're dancing. Usually that gets me a nice friendly, yeah, we're doing fine, but every once in a while it'll turn up a problem. And it's a way to give them an opening that says, well, actually we're having a little trouble. I want to know if they think they're having trouble, and I've found that that's an opening line for conversations that sometimes will get them to tell me when they're having trouble, maybe that I didn't notice. Deborah, are you excited?
Yes, I am. I wanted to do this. This was my closer, and it got lost in a stack of records here. I have to give credit to this for this idea to my husband. This is normally, I have this record in my case, and I want you to listen to the music. You may or may not recognize the song. It's a Pointer Sisters song. Okay, the driving beats, right? Right? It's called I'm So Excited. I would like to show you another way to present that particular song, besides just the four ladies promenade. Four ladies promenade inside. Get back and swing. Join hands, circle to the left. Do an element left. Weave the ring. I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. Swing and promenade. I want to please you. I want to squeeze you. Oh baby, I really want you. That's on Chaparral, yes. My husband did that, and at first it's like, what, can't that guy sing? I mean, what's wrong with him up there? Then they get to the tank. I'm so excited, and he says it's so deadpan. He has actually sat down on stage, read a book, picked up flyers, all kinds of, he's laid down, he's done all this sort of stuff. So it's all in the presentation. What happened on that piece of plastic didn't change. What happened that changed it was the presentation. And I'll tell you something, people remember that presentation a lot more than they remember the four ladies, and that's standard. You know, this was something different. So, and that's my husband standing in the back, wave and do fun things, dear. Right back there is my husband, Frank Lescrinier.
Okay, we do have a floor mic, and I'm sure that many of you can add comments and suggestions, things from your experience that can add to our thinking about showmanship other than choreography. When you do, please, we've got a roving microphone. Tell us who you are, and then share with us your wisdom.
I'm Don Rouse. Is it on?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Don Rouse from Boulder, Colorado. And Deborah, you were talking about the last tip on that one singing call where you was doing the single circle, boxinette, the little boogie-woogie thing. For the newer, maybe some of the recent callers, why do you wait till the last tip?
Oh, I microphone, hello. No, it's not the last tip.
The fourth figure.
I do it all, I cue them through that for the first three figures. The fourth figure, I tell them, boogie woogie, you make it up.
Right.
So I wasn't clear on that then?
No.
You want me to tell them to make it up sooner? Is that what
no.
you're saying?
My feeling is that it's with their partner when you do it the fourth time.
Right.
And they can do it any way they want
Exactly.
to. Exactly.
That's why I do it there.
Right.
Thank you. Good.
Okay, next one's over here. Dan Kopp.
Dan Koff from New Jersey. Every so often I find that I'm coming to a dance, and I've gotten there early, but I've had a rough day, and I need something to get me up. So what I do is I'll put on a real rouser. Name one title that I'd like to use, is a couple of them actually, Baby Likes to Rock It and Gone at Last. They get me up, they get the dancers up, and I get a feedback loop going, and it sets the momentum for the dance so that I can take it anywhere it wants to go from there, but I've set the momentum so it's rolling.
If I may make a comment, we're talking about establishing moods at a dance. Be very, very cautious of the songs. I'm so glad that you mentioned that because it just clicked a light on for me. Doing a dance for a dancer who had passed away, and I wanted to bring the mood up. Everybody was doing crooners, and so I wanted to put a kicker on. And I got in, and all I did was go, oh yeah, that's a high energy one. Put it on, got into it, got to the chorus, and realized I was doing Gone at Last at this man's memorial dance. Oh, true story, guys. Only the truth is really funny, you know. So in my outline it says, watch questionable lyrics, watch where you apply certain pieces of music. True story.
Yeah, Bob Furman, St. Louis, Missouri. In our area, we seem to have an awful lot of clubs that like to do 50s dances, 50s music and so forth and so on. So what I did is I went through, my wife Dixie and I went through all my records, got all the 50s tunes that I have. Then I made a list of the tunes and actually give the people, take it to the dance, give them a test. Who did this back in the 50s and so forth and so on. And, $10 first prize, $5 second prize, or whatever. I pay for it out of my pocket. I don't care. But the point being is, I give them a test and give them something a little extra, and they say, and then when you go back and you read the answers a little on into the dance, it's like, oh, yeah, I remember that. And then they kind of get really involved in it. And it's been a lot of fun.
There are lots of ways to put on a show.
And I do more 50s dances that way, too.
Yeah, right.
Do music I remember.
Great. Okay, next one's right over here. Deck, yeah. I really appreciate that, Deborah. Way in the back. Okay. Next one goes
I'm
back.
Osa Matthews from Palm Springs, and I'd like to have Deborah tell you how she keeps from accidentally putting the caller on instead of the music. She has 3 little letters. Very interesting.
I have a real problem with, obviously, with my reading glasses. I can't read the small print on a record that says instrumental, like little letters. I wish they would say vocal, instrumental on there so I could see it. So what I have to do ahead of time is mark the records, and I had to mark the called side. It has 3 letters. OSS stands for other side, stupid. Huh?
Jim Jeffries, Olin Park, Kansas, in relation to Tom Miller's presentation. We here in this area have experienced some difficulties keeping dancers to the end of the dance, i.e. they want to tend to leave around 10 or 10:15, and the Kansas City College Association, as well as other college associations in our local federation, have been talking to the dancers about this, and the problem is improving. So one thing that I am try to be sure that I do is to thank the dancers at the end of the dance for staying until the end of the dance, and they seem to appreciate that, and I feel like we let them know that that's important for us, and that we realize that they're staying. You know, it makes good.
The word is always out that the best dancers are there for the last tip. Right in front of you, Betsy.
Betsy.
You're on.
Just not very loud from here.
Project.
Betsy Gata from New Jersey. 2 points. One is to segue right from the gentleman behind me and say that we have a lot of times a much smaller crowd at the end of the dance, and I usually save a really special piece of music for the last tip, and I say, okay, you diehards, let's get out here and we're going to dance to this really nice piece of music, and kind of acknowledge that I appreciate that they stay. Another thing, to go along with what Tom said at the beginning of the dance, if you arrive early and you've got things laid out, you can do a 2-for-1 thing. If you play some of your newer singing calls as you're walking around the hall greeting people at the dance, you get to be familiar with the music, you kind of set a square dance mood, and the people feel like they're coming into a square dance and you're learning the thing.
I just wanted to say the first time I heard Frank and Deborah do I'm So Excited, Deborah actually jumped in, I think, on the middle break and said, no, honey, it goes like this, and she belted it out, and so if it's the teamwork. If you're doing a weekend with somebody else or at a festival and you can work up a number together, you can really create a very special effect that way.
Jim Knight, Yorba Linda, California. I have a situation that occurred a month ago. I'm at a dance. It's the last tip. I want to really do a good show, and the cure starts taking down her equipment, bumping me off the stage, slamming her cabinet, taking her speakers down, banging this. I actually had to back up so she could work in front of me, and the music's going, and I'm trying to, How would you handle a situation? I almost stopped and said, I'll just wait for her to quit. But how would you handle something like that when it's in respects to showmanship?
I think in a case like that, in other words, you had your equipment, she had her equipment, and I think, and here's a case if you know the hall beforehand, you can ask these people, do we have to be out here exactly at 10 o'clock? Well, in a case like that, most people, if you have the dancers on the floor, they're going to be able to stay an extra 5-6 minutes. So what you do like that is I would have just put my microphone down, backed up, let her do her thing, and then say thank you, and then proceed to do your job. It's best to keep your tail feathers in, and then talk about it later.
On the other side of that coin, many of us come to dances at which the round dance cure is already working with pre-rounds. Be sure that you don't make yourself equally rude by charging in, setting up your equipment while they're putting on their show. It's a two-way street.
Mike Salerno, Topeka, Kansas. What I've done for many years is if I don't get a chance to go around to everybody during the dance, I make sure that after I put the next to last tip on, I play the music through, and I go around and I try to say thank you, or press the flesh, as Jim would say, to every dancer there. The only problem is they look at you and say, are you leaving? Is the dance over?
Tom Rudebach from Ohio. Tom mentioned about thanking the dancers and at the end. One of the things that I have started to do, and started several years ago, and I was often wondering whether it was working, immediately after I finish the last singing call, there's a Happy Trails sing-along. I immediately flip that on and start to sing along as they're forming their semicircle. And there's some words in there as long as we're together, and if you just kind of pan the group. And a couple of times I didn't do that, and they come up to me and said, Tom, what happened?
I think that answers your question, whether it's working or not. We've got Nasser way down back. We'll bring it back up front.
Nelson Shuker from Shreveport, Louisiana. When I first started calling, someone told me to always have music, soft music, playing when the dancers are coming into the hall, because they come into a musical event, and to play music when they're leaving, put on like yakety sax or something of that nature. Do you believe that, or has that been your experience, or what?
What part of the message we're trying to send here is that there are many, many ways in which we can extend the show. That method works for a lot of people, and I don't think we can say that there is a right way to do something. There are many ways, and we need to pick those which suit us and our personality best. The next one's right up here in front. So I don't think we can say, yes, that's good or bad, but clearly it works for many people. And if it works for you, by all means use it. The message we want to send from this presentation today is, don't think that the show is limited to fireworks on the choreographic scene. Realize that there are lots of other ways in which we can make the experience fun for our customers.
Yes, Bill Barner, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I use something that's sort of become my trademark. I carry a portable CD player with me and about 5 or 6 CDs. Depending on where I go, if I go to Homa, I play the music that's the Cajun style, or if I go to another place, depending on the type of dance I'm doing, I'll play music that fits that. And if we don't have a cue, I do that between tips. I have it set up there, and all I do is just turn on the CD player, and I go around and talk to people in the room, keeping it low enough that we can talk and so forth. The other thing I wanted to mention is, and I use at all my dances, is after the last tip, I ask everybody to circle up, make one big circle. I circle them to the left, do an Alaman left, and weave the ring and tell everyone good night. And it works real nice.
Get another one over here.
Hank Lutcher from Pennsylvania. One of the things Tom talked about, talking to non-dancers at the restaurant after the dance. I believe that is a great recruitment tool for that local club.
Absolutely. I've not found the laughter that you cited. Mostly when people walk into restaurants in square dance clothes, the people think they're beautiful. They may not picture themselves in them, but I've never had a my, you're funny type reaction. I've had people say, oh, what a pretty dress. Where have you been? And it does indeed give us an opportunity to be positive about our activity, and it calls attention to it. I'm pleased to see that our interest has managed to carry us all the way to the end, and people are not leaping up to leave our dance early. One more question? One more question. Or answer, or...
It's on. Mike Johnson, Mustine, Iowa, and I want to ask this question to Deborah Parnell. If you come to the Midwest and call, do you ever use Small Small World and Yodel?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Hey, so can I.
Good. Thank
yes,
you.
I have it in my case, huh?
I can't yodel. But speaking of showmanship, many of you know Bill Peters, and Bill Peters has made a campaign out of being the world's best non-yodeler. If he's in a hall where people know anything at all about him and somebody starts yodeling, people don't look at the yodeler. They look at Bill. Showmanship comes in many forms, and we are pleased that you have been willing to share with us your experiences and hear ours. Thank you for coming.